There are multiple ways that we can represent data in a statistical way because oftentimes when you see statistics in real life, whether it's in the newspaper, whether it's an article on the internet, they're going to have that data represented in some sort of visual way. So there's a few really common ones. So this first one is called a dot plot, and that means that every single time that a data piece happens, it's going to get one dot on the graph. And that's one way that we can organize how much information there is. So this is a dot plot. So we can see there are 3 data points that have a value of 5, and there are 4 data points that have a value of 10, 2 that have 15, and so on. So a dot plot just has one dot for every data point. And then from that, we can then find out the total number based on the total number of dots. We can easily see where the most happens, or the mode. We also can see if there's any trends, like things building. So you can look at the overall shape of it to get an idea of how the data is spread out. So a dot plot gives us a lot of information. This is a histogram, which is a specific type of bar chart. And histograms tell us how that data happens over an interval. So the difference between a dot plot and a histogram is that dot plots don't have to have some sort of interval of time. So we could do a dot plot for the number of green Skittles versus the number of red Skittles versus the number of yellow Skittles, which is different from, as we can see in this histogram, that we're looking at how many things take a certain set amount of time. So time is a continuous thing, and so we can have a beginning and an end. The main difference between a histogram and a regular bar chart is that the bars are touching. So in a histogram, we don't have to have this continuous amount of time or other way that we chart the data. So here we can see that the bars have height, which means if we are talking about the time spent watching TV, which is what this one is, 4 people watched from 0 to 29 minutes, and 3 people watched from 30 to 59 minutes, and 8 people watched from 60 to 89 minutes. So we can see that where one interval ends, another one immediately begins. So in this, we can figure out the total. We can see where most of the data is. Again, much like the dot plot, this one is just a related way for when we have a continuous thing going on. The third one that we often see, and this needs a label so that we know what it's talking about. So this would be what percent somebody scored on a test. So this is sometimes called a box and whisker plot. Other times it's called a box plot. And it gives you less total information, but it gives you the key points of the information. So on a box plot, it gives you the minimum and max, so the smallest and largest values. It tells you where the middle is. So this is the median. So the type of middle that it gives is the median. And so that means that 50% of the data is between the minimum and the median, and 50% of the data is between the median and the maximum. And then each of these sides are 25%. So this sort of breaks it down into quarters for you, so you don't necessarily even know how much data there was. So it could have 10 pieces, it could have 100 pieces, it could have 10,000 pieces. We don't know. We just know that in this case, the median looks like the median is at 40, and the middle of the top half is at 75, and the highest value we have would be at 90. The middle of the bottom half looks like it's at 30, and the minimum value is 10. So reading a box plot just means that we know where the information is for each 25%, but we don't really know a whole lot more than that. We can see if it's skewed low or skewed high, so we can see that the data in the bottom half is much closer together versus the data in the top half, because that box portion is much bigger and it's much more spread out than it is in the bottom half. So it gives us a general picture of the data, just not a lot of detail. So those are the three main types of graphs that you would see to represent statistical data.